Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Beth,
And I'm Stainy.
and you're listening to Mixed Politics. Welcome to
Mhm.
episode 7. Stainy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a dark and stormy, which is from and ginger ale and honey and fun stuff out of a mason jar. And the reason why I'm drinking this is because I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they were just like, "Dark and stormy, that's some like old man drink or whatever." And I'm like, I know you ain't trying to fuck with me, so this is protest. This is
Hey, you
I
called
dark.
me old because I already got my vaccine.
You got it when it was 40 plus. I'm not 40 plus.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking cranberry and lime seltzer water with some vodka.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I'm doing this combination, so
How is
pretty
it?
pretty good. It's good. I like it. Might do it
Mm,
again. We'll see.
That's awesome. So, what are we talking about tonight, Bethany? That's not
What's
your
going
name.
on with the filibuster?
What's going
There's a
on with the
lot.
filibuster?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk right now about this. It's not the sexiest topic, but there's a
I
lot of
think it's I
discussion.
think it's very sexy. I think it's very sexy because it's like the thing about it is something like this has no place in any democracy. A true democracy, a fucking republic, whatever. It has no place. It's the dumbest. You know what? Tell you what. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this.
Yes,
Please
because
do.
I would like to
Because
lay some foundation because I think a lot of people are not even sure where to stand on this issue because they don't really know what the filibuster is or why.
they
What
don't
I would like
know.
to do is talk about what is the filibuster to begin with, what is the nuclear option that people are talking about, and then why. What do we think about it? What is a filibuster? Let's start there.
Mhm.
It. If we put it in the simplest of terms, it is just an action that prevents a yay or nay vote on a bill in the Senate. Now, the House of Representatives doesn't even have the filibuster anymore. They got rid of it in the 1800s.
Did they get rid of it early 1800s or late 1800s?
Early,
Early.
early
Because
1800s.
it was founded in the early 1800s. So very soon after it was not
Implemented.
discovered, implemented, created,
Yes.
invented. So soon after they invented it, the house was just like, fuck this.
Well, I don't think invented is the right term though, because this was invented back in like 50 BC, back in Julius Caesar times. That's how far back the filibuster method goes. It's really just a means to prevent a vote from happening. So
Mm-hmm.
people tend to stand up and talk. What I'd like to do is to kind of talk about how this process works and where the filibuster comes into play
Mm-hmm.
because when a bill is written, it's brought to a committee. And this is talking about the Senate because, again, the House doesn't use this. That's why they get so much more done in a day because they don't have the filibuster. But in the Senate, a bill is written, it goes to a committee. This could be Judiciary Committee, Financial Committee, whatever committee it is. And that is a smaller group of senators. And so they talk about this bill. They might hold hearings to discuss it, the merit of the bill, or they could bring people into the hearings, experts, calling
Mm-hmm.
witnesses and things, and that's where they talk about it. And then it's brought to a vote in that committee. This might be a handful of people, like 12 to 20 senators. And if it's a majority vote in the committee, then it goes to the full Senate. Or if it's not a majority vote, they could table it later. They could pick it back up again. They just
Mm-hmm.
table the bill and it just dies and it never gets picked up again. Or they pick it up later, maybe the next term or something like that. But that's usually what happens. It goes to committee first, then they vote. If they vote yes, it goes to the full floor.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets to the floor, that's when the filibuster comes into play. There's a couple different options that could happen for a bill. Option one is they don't want to debate, they don't need to debate. Maybe the debate's already finished and they do what's called a cloture vote. And that just means the debate is closed. We're ready to vote, yes or no. Now,
Okay.
to have cloture, though, it takes 60 votes. So
Yes.
60 senators need to say, we're done debating before you can be finished debating. And if you
Which
don't
which
have,
which is very different from passing a bill. Passing
yes,
a bill just requires now it's changed, but now it requires a Senate majority. That is 51.
51.
And if you only have 50, the tiebreaker goes to the vice president. And this can happen after the whole cloture thing that you're talking about. But first, we
Yes.
got to get through that.
First, we have to
So
have 60 senators say we're
60,
ready to vote, and
right,
then it's 51 to pass.
to pass the bill.
Mhm.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. The process of getting to that 60 is where the filibuster happens. So if the second option, so option one is they vote yes or no and it passes or it fails. Option two is they want to debate and they don't have 60 votes to close debate.
To stop
So,
the debate.
right. So
Okay.
then they filibuster. Now there's
So
different kinds of filibuster.
in our current situation, we have 50 Democratic senators, 50 Republican senators. So let's say the Democrats want to pass a bill or want to stop the debate to then vote to pass a bill. You would need 10 Republicans to side with the Democrats to be like, all right, we're done debating. Let's vote to pass this or not. Now,
Correct.
you guys who are listening, please consider our political climate where the GOP in the House and the Senate both decided to not cast one vote for your $1,400 stimulus bill. I keep coming back to that every fucking podcast, but it's true. They didn't vote. They didn't do shit. They didn't do anything for you, for the people of America. And we can't get the 10 to end the vote of the filibuster ending. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
This
So
is where
there's
we
a
live.
couple different ways that this happens with getting to the 60 votes. If there's not enough senators for the cloture vote, then the debate is still open. Senators can debate with actual structure where they could have a certain amount of time. And this is where they kind of go round robin. Everybody gets 2 minutes. They say their piece and then they move on to the next senator. They could do 3 rounds of that. They could just do 1 round, but it's kind of a structured format.
And you can lend time to other people, right?
Yes,
Because
yes. People could reserve their time and pass it to somebody else.
Right. If you're watching C-SPAN, this is where people would say, I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from New York or whatever.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm giving him 25 minutes because I know he got some shit to say. That's the fun part for me.
Yes. I do like to watch these proceedings because you can kind of see who the star people are in the party. If people just want to reserve time to somebody, it's because that, like Jim Jordan, he's from Ohio. I don't know how this man is even in, I don't get it. He's in the House of Representatives, but a lot of times the House will reserve time to Jim Jordan because he's kind of the spokesperson for it. But the Senate does the same thing.
Okay.
So that is the formal proceedings of an actual debate. Or one senator or a group of senators can do a filibuster, and that just means they talk and talk and talk to prevent the cloture vote from happening. So the filibuster could actually be preventing cloture. If they have 60 senators that would stop debate, the filibuster stops that cloture vote. Or if they don't even have 60 votes for cloture, then they'll filibuster. There are rules that are supposed to take place to guide the filibuster.
Okay.
And that is historically that the person who's leading the filibuster can't stop talking or can't leave the room. They could have a couple different people filibustering, but there's a whole process about the filibuster. And I have to say that a lot of them don't use that anymore. They don't even follow the rules.
That's not today, is it?
That's what I'm saying. A lot of them don't even follow the rules anymore because they don't care.
No, but I'm thinking my understanding is that's not even a part of the rules anymore. Now you can just say, I choose to filibuster this, and then sit your ass down.
No, I'm getting there. That's kind of the third option.
Okay.
Which is called the silent filibuster. That's when Mitch McConnell has made this a part of his everyday operations. When he was the majority leader in the Senate, this man lived and died by the silent filibuster. That's essentially him saying, we're not going to filibuster. We're just going to threaten to filibuster. Yeah. And then we're all just going to go home and sit on our asses and eat cake all day. That's what they do. And part of the reason they do this is because they don't want to go on record for a bill. Think of a bill like the closing the gun show loopholes. Very popular amongst Americans, bipartisan support amongst the American people. Yeah. The Republican Party does not want to go on record for voting that down. They want to vote it down, but they're scared shitless and they don't want to be on record. So they threaten to filibuster, therefore they
Because
can't
they
get to
know they don't,
cloture.
because they know the 60 votes don't exist. So it's like
Yes,
we're just threatening this,
we're
just
threatening.
so if you want us to push it we can, but then it goes through the same as having a filibuster. Because
Yes.
the one thing I understand about the whole filibuster thing, which is also very annoying, is that while you're filibustering a bill, other things that the Senate needs to do continues on at the same time. Like it's running congruently, the filibuster. So
Yes.
let's say we're trying to pass a bill for increasing education funding. We can do that while we're filibustering the gun show
Mhm.
loophole.
Mhm.
That's just so fucking ridiculous to me, to be working a democracy like that, because it's like, why aren't we doing one thing at a time? Like we're filibustering this, and so we can't get nothing done until you're done. That would push people to finish,
It would.
or to
It,
make their point, which is a whole other thing with the filibuster, where you don't even have to be talking about the bill that you're filibustering.
nope. Nope. Some people are standing up and reading Green Eggs and Ham and shit like that.
That has
That's
happened.
what they do. Yes.
Okay.
But it's not even a recent thing because we were talking about Strom Thurmond right before we started recording.
Oh, I can take you way back before that. There's
Yeah,
a
why
whole.
don't you take us back? So that kind of establishes the foundation of
Mm,
how the filibuster comes into play. That's
mhm.
just modern day how things work. So yeah, let's you take us way back.
All
Where
right,
does
let's
this
go.
shit start?
Let's go back to the beginning of the filibuster in America.
Hmm.
Beth had said that the filibuster goes back to fucking BC and Greece, which is fine. But we're going to talk about filibustering in America. So the filibuster was introduced by this person, a senator, who would then become vice president. His name is Aaron Burr,
Hmm.
in 1805. And the filibuster wasn't even like a legal standing thing. It was just something we could do if we had a problem with the bill and we want to talk about and debate, and like I make my point, you make my point. But he looked at the rules of this, and he decided that the rules were such that, before he changed it and made it filibuster, was that we're going to debate, and each person had a set amount of time to talk, and whatever. He looked at the rules and he decided, this is not good. We shouldn't have a time limit for debating. We should just debate until it is done, until we've beaten the dead horse into the fucking grave, and that's it. It should be fair that we all have as much time to meet out or met out whatever problem that we're having in the United States, and fix it by not
Hmm.
cutting people off, just letting it run. And that was a huge fucking mistake.
Mistake.
So much that I don't even like. I don't. He's probably rolling in his fucking grave every time the word filibuster is mentioned, because what they've bastardized it to is to the whole speaking forever, because he decided that there shouldn't be a limit. Now, the first time that
Yeah.
this was a problem, so this was in 1805. He decided, you know what, we're not going to have a time limit, we're just going to let it run, turn up, go nuts, talk about whatever you talk about, the debate as it pertains to the bill. The first time
Yeah.
this was an issue. Now, this wasn't even used. Like the debates would last like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like not even. It's whatever. But in 1935, there was a senator from New York by the name of Huey Long.
Huey Long. I have done so much research on this guy. He was
What?
amazing.
He was amazing, but he was the biggest piece of shit. Like if
Yes.
I was his friend, I would punch him in the fucking face. This is what this
Yes.
guy. This is what this guy is. This is what this guy did. This guy got up in 1935, and they were debating a bill about whatever. I don't remember. I'm not going to pretend like I remember. It was something government pertaining, something to do with the country. And this guy decided that he's going to block the voting on this bill by talking about salad dressing and the
Yeah.
best way to fry fucking oysters. And nobody could stop him, my guy.
Right.
He was just going. He was just like, I think ranch is better than, balsamic vinaigrette or whatever. And
Hmm.
he was just like, and this is because ranch is more thick and creamy. He's on the Senate floor, recorded, like the stenographers are like typing up shit.
Yep.
about salad dressing because this
I want to
asshole
try some of
decided
these
that
recipes now.
it's insane. He said so the best way to fry oysters, and at the time he held the record. The record for him
Hmm.
was 15 hours and 13 minutes of
Hmm.
talking about fucking salad dressing and
Yep.
oysters. But about 15 years later, nah, about 22 years later, this hombre by the name of Strom Thurmans decided that he was going to filibuster a bill. Now, before
Tell
I
us which bill
continue,
it was.
and go off on my rant, there's a woman by the name of Nikki Haley. She was recently an ambassador, I believe, to the UN
Yes.
by Donald Trump. Before that, she
Yes.
was whoever she was, and she's noisy and she talks a lot. And she said, somebody had said, made the comment, this is a racist country. And she came out and she vehemently, you know, disagreed with that. Like, this country is not a racist country. There's nothing racist about this country. It's like everybody who's not white would hear that and like, what the fuck you talk about? It is
Well, even
racist.
some of us white folk would say,
It is
okay,
racist.
honey.
But this is how I'm gonna let you know for a fact that the government had been racist in our lifetime, in my father's lifetime. When this was happening, my father was 7. So there was that.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
Strom Thurmond decided that he's gonna filibuster a bill. And the way he went about filibustering this bill, he's on record. I might make a video of this, of him talking about it. He went to a sauna for 3 to 4 days before filibustering this bill, because at the time this was a speaking filibuster. You had to stand there and talk, not necessarily
Yes.
talk about the bill, but you got to talk. You can't leave the room. If you left the room to go pee, the filibuster is over.
Yes.
It's done. Once you stop talking, it's done. So he stood there and he talked for 24 plus hours because he was trying to filibuster the Civil Rights Act in 1957.
Hmm.
This guy went to a sauna for 3 days and dried out his body so that he didn't need to pee, to stop black people and people of other ethnicities that weren't white from getting civil rights. This is how important it was to this guy and other people who supported him, that
Yeah.
he's gonna beef jerky his fucking body and stand there and talk for 24 hours just to stop the Civil Rights Act. So if you look at the Civil Rights Act, the date of it, the current Civil Rights Act, the date of it is not 1957,
No, it's
because
1965.
right, because he was fucking successful at blocking
Yeah.
the bill.
Yes. Now I take issue with this because
Holy
it's
shit.
so funny because I wrote down some notes on Strom Thurmans filibuster as well, and the sauna, because he decided that, I mean, by the way, he did break some of the rules. He did actually go leave and eat a sandwich. So this coward decides that he's going to filibuster, dry his body out. Meanwhile, Wendy Davis from Texas, she
Mhm.
spoke for 11 hours. She was 50 years old. She wore her pink tennis shoes and a back brace. She didn't go to a sauna to dry her body out. She wore a catheter so that she could stand up there. Yes, she's a
Wow.
badass. Strom Thurmond, not a badass. Going to a
Man,
sauna is not as badass as wearing a catheter so that you can filibuster. That's how you do it.
she
She
got
peed
the
standing up better than a
catheter.
man ever did. She is a badass. That's how you filibuster.
She stood there with the colostomy bag at the thing at the God, this is horrible. But yeah, this is what your democracy is like, people. This is the democracy that we want to spread to the rest of the world. That you can stand up. So
Yeah.
let's go back to Strom Thurmond, this piece of shit
Yes.
that lived to be over 100 goddamn years old. I don't know how you can be so fucking wicked and live to be so long, which is why it just goes against
There
everything that
is no
people believe.
justice.
There is no
There is no
justice. There's
justice.
just winning. That's all. That's all.
Hmm.
So when this motherfucker was filibustering the Civil Rights Act, he dried out his body, and yeah, he stood there for 24 hours besides leaving to go get a sandwich, I guess, before somebody hit a
Yeah.
gavel. But in addition to that, right, this piece of shit, God, I hate him. Like, I wish he was alive so I could punch him in his fucking face. You know what I mean? He he stood there filibustering the Civil Rights Act to get black and brown and other people, Native Americans, etc., their civil rights as a legal standing in the United
Hmm.
States. But not only did he dry out his body, he read from the fucking phone book.
Right.
He wasn't even talking about the bill. He was reading the phone book, like Mary so and so, Elm Street, whatever, 614876. Like, how you read that for 24 hours to stop people from getting rights?
That's when you know you've lost your argument.
You reading the phone book, my guy? Fuck you. I don't like him.
So it's insane to me that anybody thinks that the Senate is the most deliberative body as it once historically was, because even back to the 1950s
Mm-hmm.
and then back to the 1930s with Huey Long, it
Wow.
was not the most deliberative body because people were reading from the phone book and reading salad dressing recipes to prevent other people from having rights.
Yeah.
But that's part of this whole discussion because people say, well, you can't get rid of the filibuster because the Senate is the most deliberative body and it's supposed to prevent partisanship.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Clearly, it doesn't. The filibuster does not prevent partisanship because this kind of stuff still happens.
Why doesn't the House have a filibuster since, the Senate abuses it so much?
Well, I think it's because they realized they didn't need it. There was a time when they actually tried using it, but they felt like it was duplicit. It was duplicative because
Duplicitous.
it was duplicative because they already had the cloture vote. So if you have enough people to, I don't know if they basically just use the cloture vote as the majority. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
50 people that want to vote, then you vote. And this is why so many bills have passed the House and sat in the Senate and gone nowhere, because the bill is supposed to go to the House and then to the Senate and then to the president. Or if it starts in the House, or starts in the Senate, it goes to the House and then it goes to the. So there's a process at play here,
Yeah.
and so many bills will pass through the House and then go to the Senate and just die. So I think that they just really realize it doesn't. It's not necessary. They
The
have the cloture
fucking
vote,
because
and
it because
that's
if they kill it with the filibuster in the House, why stop the Grim Reaper from reaping? Because he gonna reap it anyways. We might as well do
yeah.
our job.
So then that's my question. What does the filibuster actually do? Does it force debate like it's originally
No,
intended to? That yeah,
it
not
doesn't.
anymore because the
What
senators are
it does
reading green
is
eggs and ham.
it empowers the minority.
Hmm.
It's
Or
ridiculous. It's
even if
ridiculous.
in the case of Mitch McConnell, majority too. I mean, it does
Mm-hmm.
not force any debate. Most of the filibusters are silent ones, so there is no debate taking place. It The 60 vote cloture only prevents legislation from getting passed as a regular occurrence. And
Mm-hmm.
so here's an interesting thing. As of 2013, the cloture vote of 50 is only 51 for cabinet appointments and for judicial nominees.
Right.
And as of
It's split.
2017, it includes Supreme Court nominees. So basically, right now, it is easier to get political appointments through than it is to get legislation to protect the American people. And that is
Yeah.
the most partisan shit that I've ever
And
heard in my entire
and
life.
and and your second boyfriend, Mitch McConnell, he's the one who changed that in those
Yes,
times because
he
he
did.
wanted to ram through judicial appointees, even support Supreme
No,
Court appointees.
no, actually, before that, he
It
wanted
was
to
before that?
prevent he wanted to prevent Obama from getting any appointees. He wanted to he had said we're going to make
Mm-hmm.
Obama a one-term president. And in
I remember
2012
that.
when he got reelected, he was like, "Fuck Obama, we're not going to let him get any appointments through." So, the Senate changed the rules to say we no longer need 60
Uh,
votes
mm-hmm.
to get through the non-SCOTUS judicial appointments and
Yeah.
regular appointments. We only need 51 votes. And so they changed that rule under Harry Reid. And then
That
in
guy.
2017, yes, and then 2017 was when McConnell said, "Oh, we're going to make it for SCOTUS appointments too." So now the Supreme Court only needs 51 votes. We don't even need to have a
Mm-hmm.
60 vote majority for cloture. It's only 51.
Because
So,
at the time the Democrats had the minority and so they could filibuster. So he changed the filibuster so that they couldn't use it effectively, which is what just, you know what? That's a whole other segment. It'll
It
drive me
is.
crazy.
But that just goes to show that people who may have had an argument before 2013 to say
Mm-hmm.
it forces debate, well, now they've changed the rules because of the fact that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans said, we don't want Obama to have anything. They played partisan politics to the nth degree. And they said, we don't like this president. We don't want him to get any cabinet appointments.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the Senate had any choice than to make the cloture vote 51 instead of 60. And then what happened was people started saying, well, that's just partisan politics. Well, actually, no, it's partisan politics to block any judicial appointee because you just don't like the president.
Yeah,
So
because judicial appointments is constitutional.
it
Like
is. It is a
it's like
constitutional
a
part of
one
being president.
it's like a one paragraph constitutional thing. Like he who is president gets to nominate the for the vacancy on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And Mitch
And they were
McConnell
using this.
decided that
Go
he's
ahead.
gonna screw that over.
Right.
And
And it would be one thing if he was trying to have a debate about these judicial appointees and these
mm,
nominees, but he didn't. It was a silent filibuster. So any argument that they had, any standing that they had for some kind of moral superiority, they threw it
yeah.
out by saying, we're just going to do silent filibuster. He gets nobody through. So then the rules changed. Now they have 51 in order to move forward with a nominee. And so now the only thing that's left with the 60 threshold is actual legislation. So again,
Actually,
it
so
is
that's the
it
only
is
thing that's
the
suffering. We are suffering.
we are suffering. They get all their political appointees. We get no legislation. And that to me is the most partisan thing I've ever heard. So it
Yeah.
is complete bullshit for anybody to say, oh, but they're such a deliberative body and they're supposed to be like the best chamber that we have in our government. No, it's completely partisan. So they have no
It's not.
argument left.
I want to point out, I don't know if you knew this about Mitch McConnell. God, there's just nothing to like about that dude. Like I wouldn't like if he gave me like a bucket of fucking gold, I'd be like, something wrong with this.
I know.
What'd
I
you
would
do?
think that he
What'd you
probably pissed all over it or
what'd
something.
you what'd you do to this? This is tungsten. This isn't gold. You know?
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if you knew this. So at a point in time, he was so rampant with the fucking filibustering that he filibustered his own bill.
I
Mitch
did not know
McConnell,
that.
yes. Oh my God, it is
Which
insane.
bill?
So there was a measure that was proposed by the White House that was dealing with cutting off the debt ceiling, right? And
Okay.
he literally he was the one who authored the bill, but all he did was so it's all right. Let me read this to you. It says they wanted to change it. The bill at hand was a measure proposed by the White House based on a last choice, one off fix McConnell himself came up with in 2011, saying that there was a debt ceiling standoff and we're going to take America's debt borrowing limit out of Congress's hands. The president could raise the debt ceiling and Congress could override the president only with a veto-proof majority. Mitch
Okay.
McConnell introduced the bill to show that President Obama doesn't have the votes for such a measure, even in a Democrat-controlled Senate, because obviously we're dealing with the budget here. So obviously some Democrats are going to be like, nah, we don't really want the president having power over the budget, whatever. That same week, Mitch McConnell got up and filibustered that bill. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you ever met somebody that was so obsessed with doing something that even when it's at their own detriment, they're still like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That's
I do know some people like that, and it drives me crazy.
that's oh my God. It was
Okay.
they've written so many articles about this. It's crazy. That he filibustered. He stood there and filibustered his own bill for hours. He wrote it.
I'm going to ask the most elementary question possible. And this is not, I guess it is rhetorical, but this is a serious question for anybody listening. Why do we elect pieces of shit like that are wasting time? We have roads that are crumbling. We have bridges that are falling down. We have infrastructure that needs to be built. We have pockets of the country who do not have any internet to speak of.
Yeah.
That's reliable. And this guy is writing a bill that he's filibustering himself just to prove a point. It's just wasting time.
But see, that's the thing. That's why we're having this talk about this right now. Is because we have an infrastructure bill that's hanging in the balance because Republicans are like, we're gonna filibuster it just because a Democrat is pushing it through. And it's a
That is
known thing.
true.
President Trump, when he was president, had this whole thing where he was like infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Like, if you compare our airports to any fucking airport anywhere, we have the shittiest airport. So, all right, let's look at the country. At least 4 airports should be like world class. New York, Chicago, LA, Miami. Should be
Hmm.
world class. If you've been to JFK or LaGuardia or just any, like, you don't want to be there. You
No.
want to get the fuck out as fast as possible. And if
Yep.
you've traveled internationally, if you've been to airports in Beijing or Tokyo or even Shanghai or Hong Kong or wherever, or even in India, like, you get to those airports and you're like, wow, look at this architecture. This is
It's
crazy.
yeah.
This is amazing. This food is good. The concourse is nice. Like, I don't mind a layover. This is nice. Like,
It actually
every
looks like the
single one of
21st century.
yeah, and they've got kiosks for this and whatever. All our airports look like shit. If you want to
Mhm.
see the problems with our infrastructure, just fucking Google like bridge failings in the United States or bridge collapsing in the United States. It's stupid. There was like 50 last year. Like,
Mhm.
just last year, 50 bridges just like were deemed condemnable and collapsible, and it was just like, bruh, we need to spend money to fix these things.
Yes.
Like,
Now,
we need to use our taxes and fix these things that everybody will use. Ergo, socialism.
it doesn't even need to go into the socialism realm.
It
We just had
doesn't. It
a
doesn't.
we just had for the last 4 years a businessman who was really good at building shit
And
that
making
could have
deals.
and making deals that could have pushed through an infrastructure bill, and he did
Yeah.
not do so.
And that was a
It,
part of his whole agenda, wasn't it? Like, build a wall, infrastructure.
it was supposed
Um,
to be and the Democrats wanted to work with him on it. He never
yeah.
introduced it. Never
What
came to
was
be.
what was that? No, there was. I'm. It's so weird. I'm struggling to come up with a third like policy thing. There was build a wall, infrastructure.
But just make America great. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah. Let's just
that
make it great.
speaks for itself, right?
That's where it's at. All
That's
right.
a
Yeah.
policy.
We're gonna
Yeah,
go.
so
We're gonna go back to 1950s, where it was great, where Strom Thurmans could read from the goddamn phone book to block
you're
civil rights.
reading my mind. I was going to say
That's
the
when it was
same thing.
great. That's when it was great. That's when it was great again.
Yeah. So what would happen if the Democrats decided to pull what's called the nuclear option, which is to make the cloture vote 50 or maybe even 40? They could just say 41 senators want to move forward with the vote. That's the cloture
Mhm.
threshold, and we vote. So what would happen? The Senate would get more work done. Senators would
No,
actually
no.
have to be on record for an up or down vote. Republicans and Democrats would actually have to vote.
Mhm.
And that's what the result would be, because it's not like you need 60 senators to pass a bill.
Yeah.
Technically you only need 60 senators to bring it to a vote.
To
So if
bring it
you
to a
remove
vote.
the 60 threshold, you still only need 51 senators to pass a bill. So if you remove the 60 threshold, the result is more shit gets done. What's
But
bad about that?
to use Mitch McConnell's own fucking words in that quote, elections have consequences.
They
And the
do.
consequences should be that the winners get to enact their policy. That's
Yeah.
the consequence.
Yes.
But we don't have that because we have this sort of stupid, archaic bullshit called a filibuster that stands in the way of things getting done. So
Yes.
the nuclear option, the nuclear option is to just do away with it altogether. Because
Mhm.
and you know what the funny part is? So I wish maybe I'll post it on the YouTube version of this. But every time you get into these debates with people, you always have that one fucking jackass that's like, well, the filibuster's in the Constitution, and so we can't do away with it. I got
It's
news for
not.
you, dummy. The filibuster is not in the Constitution. You can't find that word anywhere in any fucking document remotely close to the Constitution. You can't find it in the Constitution. You can't find it in the amendments. You can't find it in the Bill of Rights. You can't find it anywhere because it's not a thing. It's not even
No.
real. Like we can just get up tomorrow and just be like, it's done. The
Yep.
reason why the Democrats, the do nothing goddamn Democrats, won't end the filibuster is because they are afraid.
Yes.
They are scared fucking shitless. It's like you've won the Senate, you've won the House, you won the White House, you have the majority. Do what you want.
Yes.
They won't. You know why? Because they're scared that, let's say, for example, maybe they lose the House next election and they lose the Senate or lose the White House next election. Now the Republicans are going to get to do what they want.
But
That's
they
the
already
fear.
have been.
Bro,
But they already have been.
that's the crazy fucking part that drives me goddamn crazy. It's like
Yeah.
when Mitch McConnell had the minority as he does now, they threatened to use the filibuster. When they have the majority, they ram through whatever the fuck they want. And they water down the filibuster. They remove the speaking portion of it. Now it's just, I can just say, I'm filibustering, and then I'll go back to Texas to hang out, or I'll make a clerk read some shit or whatever. Like, it's so I don't understand what the fear is. You're scared of people doing what they want who've already been doing whatever the fuck they want.
Yes.
Like, if they remove the filibuster today, we could get student loan debt relief. We could get the infrastructure bill passed. We could get, what else? Medicare for all. We could just be like passing progressive shit. We could be like, matter of fact, we could pass the whole Green New Deal. Now, I know that scares the shit out of half of America. I get it. Okay, maybe you don't want that. But I'm saying, if we go with elections have consequences, like he said, then the winners should be able to enact whatever the fuck they want. And like, I don't understand how it's so hard to see. When he loses, he uses the filibuster. When they win, they ram through whatever the fuck they want. When the Democrats win, they don't want to change the filibuster. They can't get anything passed. And then they tweet all day. Like, the most annoying, and I'm going to say this on record, the most annoying person to follow on fucking Twitter is Elizabeth Warren.
Why?
all day, like every hour, every 2 hours, it's just, we need to do this in the Senate, we need the president to do this, and it's just like, hey, dumb bitch, remove the filibuster and you can do whatever you want. You don't need me to tell you that. You're a senator. How about y'all just do it? Just fucking do it. And you know what the funny thing is? To remove this filibuster, it doesn't require any Republican votes.
It doesn't.
So just fucking do it.
I know. That's I again, any argument that people have is, it's usually because, well, historically we've done it this way.
Yeah.
Well, historically, the purpose of the filibuster was to force debate. But as we already talked about, they're using the silent filibuster, which means there is no debate going on. So getting rid of the filibuster just means that we skip the part where everybody sits on their ass and does nothing, and we get to the part about voting. So the benefits of getting rid of it is we get more legislation passed, and also we get these people on record for how they actually feel about shit. Because I'm so tired of these politicians like Elizabeth Warren, Ted Cruz, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, standing in front of television cameras, talking all day long at each other through television, instead of going to the office down the hall and talking directly to each other. They should actually be talking to one another face to face rather than through a television camera. They're wasting time. And all they're doing is just grandstanding in front of their constituents, getting nothing done. Meanwhile, the rest of us are sitting, driving cars over broken bridges every day, praying to God that it's not going to collapse when we go through it.
And when it fucking does collapse, you know what's going to happen?
Thoughts and prayers.
Tots and pears. Tots and pears.
Thoughts and prayers.
That's all that's going to happen.
These people are elected to do a job that they are not doing. So if they were, in fact, going to do a real filibuster and debate this stuff, I could understand keeping the filibuster. It serves no purpose right now. So I know people are nervous, saying, okay, so if we get rid of the filibuster now, then as soon as Republicans get in office, they're going to start passing all this shit. So as we've already covered, they're going to do it anyways. Filibuster or no filibuster, they already were ramming through stuff that you didn't want. But then secondly, this would actually put them on record. This would force them to put through a yay or nay vote on gun control. a yay or nay vote on infrastructure. Right now, they're hiding behind the filibuster so that you don't know how they really feel about this stuff. And so that they can run their next campaign about how we need to get stuff done in Washington. Well, we could have done it 3 years ago, but you failed to actually take a vote on it because you were too chicken shit to go on record for it. So
Yeah.
this is a win-win situation getting rid of the filibuster. I don't see any purpose for it anymore.
We have a patron that gave us some feedback regarding this episode. And I know this, I know this is a surprise to you. It's also a surprise to me. We shouted him out not the last podcast, but the one before. Rayon, he is a lawyer, and he gave like a solution to fixing the filibuster without removing it. Now, I haven't read it at all. It's just sitting here on my phone. So I'm going to read. Yeah. So I have no idea what it says. There's a whole 3 paragraphs of it. So I'm just going to read it straight as he said it. And if there's a problem with it or you don't like it, whatever, it is not my words. But I believe as a person who's supporting this podcast and supporting us and what we're doing here, we should give him a voice.
Yes,
though he
I
couldn't
agree.
be here as like a third panel or whatever. Let's go. So
all right.
He said, the way they let the filibuster run is insane, but there are 2 easy ways to fix that. That doesn't involve ditching it. And my response was and he said, shift burden. Right now, the majority must gather 60 votes to break the filibuster. Why not shift it to the minority that they must have 40 votes to sustain? That way, if shit is important and existential to them, then they can stay around and do it. But if at any point 10 of them fuck off to go on Fox or fundraise or what have you, then majority can close the debate with 51 votes.
Okay.
Part of the reason that doesn't happen is because there's no actual debate. To me, the point of the filibuster is to prevent a narrow majority from doing something catastrophic. So you better get up there and talk. And all Senate business better halt like it used to be. Or, I guess this would be the second option, you could just create more exceptions. The budget resolution is deemed important enough to not stop. Why isn't anything else? Like Manchin and Simea could keep their beloved filibuster and create an exception for voting-related legislation. Or literally anything. The GOP are cartoon villains, but make no mistake, the holdup right now is entirely Manchin and Sinema. The end.
Yes. I agree with everything that Rayon said. Good job, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
This is why we should have regular folks like us running the country, because we feel the impact of what these people are doing.
You know what though? Yeah, like regular folks like us, me and you are regular. He's a big shot fucking lawyer in California. People are not gonna see him as regular. Like he ain't regular.
I still see him as regular because he's not a politician. He's not paid to just go sit in Washington and write bills all day long. Yeah. He's the kind of person who has the knowledge necessary to write the bills. And so he's still regular because he's working every day just like us.
I think last week there was an interview, or maybe earlier this week there was an interview with Biden, and he said he doesn't want to end the filibuster. Now I'm gonna go on record as saying that I've always believed that Biden is a Republican, because he is, like, first of all, the whole United States has been pushed so far right, there is no left. And I could do a whole podcast on that. There is no left. That's my stance.
You know who's left? Huey Long. Go look at that guy. He was left. He was left of left. Yes. Really? He was like borderline communist. He was actually planning on running for president against FDR at one point. So, but then he got shot. He got shot and killed. So, yeah.
Well, we just gonna speed past that, like.
That's okay. So there's a whole thing. Let me try to summarize it real quick. So Huey Long was kind of, he was on the outskirts, like just on the margin of doing legal shit, like kind of like Donald Trump. You know, he's always on right on the margin, probably illegal, but still technically legal type of stuff. So he had he had bodyguards that were all armed, and this doctor came to visit him to ask him a question about something, and there are conflicting reports about whether this doctor was the one who shot Huey Long and killed him, or whether this doctor pulled a gun or punched him in the face, punched Huey Long in the face, and then the bodyguards actually shot Huey Long on accident while trying to shoot the
Trying to shoot the
doctor.
doctor. Oh.
Yeah. And so actually one of the bodyguards' guns was traced, it matched the bullet that killed Huey Long, but nobody really wanted that to be the story. So they claimed
Wow.
that this doctor killed Huey Long. But it was just kind of this whole thing where the bodyguards were probably not the most up and up people, you
Dude,
know. So but
it's
yeah, he got shot and killed.
American politics is better than fucking reality TV. You just gotta get involved. Like people all the time, they're just like, I don't get involved in politics. It's so boring and so whatever. I'm just like, hey yo, I just recently somebody got shot at a baseball game for being a politician. Like if you follow this shit, it's funny, it's hilarious, it's upsetting,
I
it's
wouldn't say
angering, it's
funny.
terrifying, it's insightful. You learn stuff. Like follow the politics, man. It's not that hard. You just read an article a day, get up in the morning,
Yeah.
read Wall Street Journal or whatever. But
So sorry, I
Biden,
interrupted your story, but yes, Biden is definitely not left.
so Biden in his interview said that he doesn't want to do away with the filibuster. He wants to bring the speaking filibuster back. So he wants to change the rules to back in like Strom Thurmans and Huey Long days, where if you're gonna have to command the floor, you're gonna have to stand there, speak about whatever. I would push it further. If we can't get rid of it at all, which would be my option. My option is to get rid of it. Fuck it. Elections have consequences, Mitch. You said it. I agree with it. And we should enact the policies of the winning people. But if we can't get rid of it because Democrats are too chicken shit to get rid of anything or to strong arm or to be strong about something, then he wants to go to a speaking filibuster. My thing is I'm cool with that, but it has to be relevant to the bill. We're not gonna go back to fucking 1935 with Huey Long talking about salad dressing and oysters, and we're not gonna go back to Strom Thurmans in 1957 where he's reading out of the phone book. Like once you've gone off topic for 30 seconds, then it's over.
Exactly. And I agree with that 100%. I have to say that I felt differently about this 2 weeks ago, about the filibuster. I was in the camp of people who were nervous about getting rid of it because of the fact that the Senate is supposed to be different from the House. But the more I read about this and the more I saw it in the perspective of the intent of the filibuster is to debate and nobody's debating anymore, I came to the conclusion, just researching for this podcast, I have no reason to think that the filibuster should stay. It serves no purpose. If somebody's going to make the case that is necessary, then I agree 100%. You have to bring back actual debate, whether it's structured that everybody gets a certain amount of time and we go round robin, or if it's just one person standing up there and as soon as they're done speaking for 30 seconds, the whole debate is closed and they go to a vote.
And now we go to a vote.
That's the only way I'd support it.
Yeah. Because right now, what's happening is it's being used to block this infrastructure bill, and coming from being born outside of this country, it's really easy to look at the situation and be like, all right, so American politics and like legislation rests upon two things. We have this bill and it's going to be passed or not be passed, or whatever. But this bill, the first thing to address is, who is this bill fucking over? Every single bill that I've ever come across fucks over somebody. And I don't understand why. I guess maybe the stimulus bill. That didn't really fuck over anybody. Like individual. I can't really think of a part. So, but majority of the bills, it's like, okay, well, we're fucking over these people or this age group or this sex or this gender or this military status or whatever. Somebody's getting fucked over. And it's like, if we could get rid of the lumping in of everything of the bills, and if we could get rid of the filibuster, we would have so much fucking progress. You never know. We could be warp speed. We could have colonies on the moon. We could have manned missions to Mars already. Who fucking knows? You know, like it's so funny when you look at shit from back in like the 90s or whatnot, and you have like Back to the Future and stuff, and they're just like, oh, in 2021 we're gonna have hovercrafts. And it's like, how can we have hovercrafts and hover skateboards if the fucking oil companies are lobbying Congress?
Right. And that's part of why the filibuster is so dangerous right now.
Yeah.
The way that it's commonly used, it is not used to even block legislation from
Yep.
having a vote. I mean, it technically is, that's the end result. But what it is, more importantly, is a blanket of protection for senators to never go on record on how
Go
they
on
actually
record.
feel about something. So when they run their campaigns, they say, we're going to have to get infrastructure. We're going to have to build new roads and bridges. We're going to put the American people back to work. Well, when it comes to this infrastructure bill, what's going to happen is Mitch McConnell, I guarantee you, is going to vote no. And that's what he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to be on record voting no. But if he votes yes, then he's joining the liberals, and that looks bad for him. If he votes no, then it's actually something that could be used against him in his next campaign. So it's a blanket of protection for these politicians. This infrastructure bill specifically benefits Kentucky more than anything Mitch McConnell has ever done.
And the
And that scares
filibuster
the shit out of him.
is being used to stop this.
To
Son
stop
of a
it.
bitch.
Yes. Yes. And so that scares the shit out of him, which is why he's grandstanding right now, going out there and using threatening language at the Democrats, like, don't you dare break what we have here. This is a sacred this is a sacred bond that we have with the American people. That's why he's saying it, because it's his only thing he has left, is pretending like he gives a shit.
Is that your Mitch McConnell fucking impression?
Yes. I could probably do better.
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Oh, this is a sacred bond we have with the American people.
I love when he reads. It's so awesome. Like, I watch him on C-SPAN. He fucking turns the page and he he fucking does his thing, and he's just like, the American people, we do not support by the polls. I'm saying that we should pass this kind of legislation. Like, he really thinks this is, like, in his head, he thinks this is still the antebellum South.
Oh, yes. Yes,
like, he's still
absolutely
up there with the fucking stupid shit, looking like fucking Colonel Sanders. Like, American people, I do declare.
We've been drinking too much. I do
declare.
What?
You know what, Beth? Please tell these people how they can reach us before we get fucking sloshed.
Okay. Yes. So if you are on YouTube, you already know that you can find us through Mixed Politics. But if you're not watching us on YouTube, there is actually visuals for us. So go to YouTube, search Mixed Politics, 2 words. Facebook and Instagram is mixed.politics. Twitter is mixedpolitics1. Or you can send us an email with your thoughts or your questions at mixedpoliticspod@gmail.com. Now, be sure to go subscribe to our audio podcast. So wherever you listen to podcasts, if it's on Apple or wherever, go subscribe there and give us a rating, because we'd really love to have some 5-star ratings from you guys. And also your comments. We'd love to hear it.
I'll take 4.
Or if you want to do 4 stars, I'll do 5 stars. Now, we did cover Patreon a little bit earlier, but Stainy, why don't you take that one? Tell everybody how they can find us on Patreon.
I'm not going to spend a long time on Patreon this week, but patreon.com/mixedpolitics. That's where you can go. You can get merch like this hoodie. It's up there. It's a thing. You could also come on the show with us. You can also get bonus, extended, and different footage that we usually tape either before or after this podcast. We do a take 2 sometimes. And it's all there unedited. You can see the bloopers. You can see the bullshit. You can see us drinking. You can see us going ham. And it's all there. There's a lot of other stuff that you can get back to. There's behind the scenes access. There's access to our Discord where you can see how we plan the episode, or you can be a part of the show physically or by remote. So once again, patreon.com/mixedpolitics. And just like we read Rayon's feedback to us regarding this episode, we would reach out to you and say, hey, we got an episode on this. I'm feeling this way, or I'm thinking this thing, or I'm confused about this, or whatever. What is your opinion? Because that's exactly what I did. I messaged him today as a patron, and I said, yo, what's this filibuster thing, man? Like, I'm kind of confused about what's going on or what can be done or whatever. And he's like, yo, I got an idea. I got 2 options. And then you just heard it on the podcast. So that could be you. Make it happen. Make it be a thing. The lowest tier is $10. $10.
That's doable.
That's 2 drinks. I had 3 since I've been sitting here.
Right? I had to put a little bit more vodka in my glass so we could do our cheers. But we wanted to say to our...
I have enough for cheers.
Okay. To our analysts, pundits, and experts, we have to say cheers.
Ooh, got it. All right. Thanks for being here. Thanks for staying with us. Have a good time. Wow.
Ooh, that's straight vodka.
Is it?